That's on you, player.
Still on goddamn doing Negro
You gotta
moves.
do all this prepping and priming. You gotta do all this prepping and
3
priming.
years, man. Negro still doing the same thing.
Yep, you sure is.
3
Prepping and
years.
priming. You ain't gotta do all that prepping and priming. Sit down and let's roll.
All
These
right.
people wanna hear you. These
Put
folks
my
wanna hear you.
headphones, man.
These folks wanna hear you. Why the mic upside down, man?
Man, what y'all do to... Man, what...
Lord,
Man, what is y'all
Lord.
doing here, man? What is this, man?
That's a y'all thing.
What kind of operation y'all running in this joint, man?
Top notch. Professional.
Man, this some goddamn...
Watch your mouth now.
What is this,
You ain't
man?
gonna come over my house and talk bad about my house now.
Man, what is this, man? What is this, bro? Turn that up, man.
You don't want it up for what? Turn your headphones up. What you looking for now?
Trash can, man. Come on, come on.
Now you spitting all over the place, see?
I ain't spitting on me up, huh?
Man, oh Lord. You ain't never had nothing like that,
You tripping, man.
You ain't never had nothing like that. Look at that.
In your mouth. Well, that's what I used to be telling them jokers. In your mouth. In your mouth. In your mouth. Big D, I seen that text you sent me, man. Hey, man, what's up with my microphone?
They don't like why you intro. What you don't like why you intro on for?
Man, cut that goddamn microphone on, man.
Man, cut that mess out, man. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Good evening.
What are you doing?
Good evening.
Look at that joke.
Good evening. This is your host, Joaquin Thompson Sr. Coming to you live from,
Lil Burn.
man,
Lil
Little Burnt. Coming to you live from Little Burnt, Georgia.
That joke called it Little Burn.
Little Burnt, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. And, you know what I'm saying, man? Just, man, glad to be here. This episode, what's the number, man? What's the number? Is that the trivia question? What's the number, man? How long we been doing this, man? Like
3 years.
3 years.
3 years. And caught it.
Damn, boy. It's like that. Oh, man.
Come on now. Say it
Oh,
like you say it.
man. You know what, man?
Oh, Lord.
We got people joining for the first time, so I got to make sure I let them know. But this is a show about personal finance, and what we do is we do everything related to personal finance, and we do it from a spiritual perspective. Why are we getting this shade?
Look at
What is up with these lights, man?
Because you're in the studio, man. You got the lights got brighter. The lights got brighter. Look
Man,
better.
turn that thing off, man.
Never,
Why you
never,
got that?
Never. Look
Man.
at that. Look at that. Look here. You got
Come on, bro.
Brian Stewart.
Yeah.
He said show 138. Let's go.
That's all I needed was one. That's all I needed. I just say to see if somebody keep a score out there, man. Trying to see somebody keep a score. You know what I'm saying? Not score. You know, we take the R out. Trying to see if somebody keep a score out that mug, man. But yeah, man, episode 138, bro. I mean, we've done this 137 other times, and we ain't did nothing but 3 things: educate, motivate, elevate. Man, why you got that light on over there, man? It's just
Look at crystal clear you look. That's what you want.
man,
right
I don't
there.
look no man. It's
Man, look at just talk, man.
man.
What
Anyway,
like you talk,
anyway,
You
man.
look-
Let me
look-
close my
talk.
eyes. Let me close
Look
my eyes
at
to
it.
it. Anyway,
Amen.
this is
Amen.
anyway, this show is about personal finance from a spiritual perspective, and what we do on the really dead, on the really dead. Look, man, God, darn. Oh man, okay, but
You need
what
some
we do,
coffee, man.
what we do, we talk about man. Turn that light up. That light's crazy over there,
Yeah,
man.
it is. Look at
Man,
what
why
I'm doing for
turn
you.
it off, man? I don't
what I'm
need
doing.
that, bro. I don't. Man, I can't even see. Turn that thing off, man. I
You
can't
need
even
to
see.
what? Talk. You don't need to see it, dog.
Damn.
You don't
Man,
need
you
to
come
see it,
in
dog.
with man like some goddamn. Hey, man.
Man,
It's a
you-
gospel
you-
show, man, and
man,
I'm
look
saying
here.
goddamn.
Don't spin the TV.
Come on,
tell,
man.
Tell them about the TV show, man. Don't they have lights over there?
Oh man, not like that.
They don't.
No, man, point that thing down,
They
bro.
don't have lights like
God,
that.
dang. Man.
There you go.
Anyway, so man, thank you. God, dang, what you trying to do?
trying to educate, motivate, and what you say?
Hey man, so the show is from a spiritual perspective, but we don't do religion on a daily bread, man. We only do God. That's it. So if you ever see me doing this, wherever I'm at, man, that means that I'm giving. I pray without ceasing. I guess that's the best way to say it, man. Even no matter what you're going through, no matter what people call you with, no matter what things going on in your life, man, just pray without ceasing. So the thing about this show, what we do, the objective of this show from day one, and I went back and looked at episode 1 last night. That was crazy. I looked at episode 1, 7, and 8. And shout out to Big D.
Did you cry?
No, I ain't.
A tear come to your eyes, brother. Talk to
tear
me.
did come to my eye, though.
Okay.
Because I was like, I went in and I went back to episode 8. The 8th episode, man, Big D had already been doing the show. He had already did the promo for the show. So that means that, he was rolling from the get-go.
Yes, sir.
And so I just love it, man. A friend of mine, Dr. Posey, she reached out to me today, asked me what was going on in my new phase 2 of life. I told her everything was good. Then when I started naming it, I was like, man, that sounds like a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Look at this, man. Oh, this is my pen. I was like, man, it is a lot of stuff, man. So we doing the podcast, and we doing the TV show on Sunday nights, at 9:30 on from AIB Network, and then you can catch it on Comcast, Channel 295, and AT&T Uverse on Channel 6.
Catch it in Philadelphia?
Huh? You can catch it in Hong Kong.
What?
They got to cover up in Hong Kong. You know what I'm saying? They ain't got time for that, man. But you can catch it in Europe. You can catch it in South Africa.
What?
You can catch it in the West Indies.
And what are you doing on this show?
Man, I'm doing the same exact thing. Educating, motivating, and elevating, man. This week's show is going to be so inspirational, man. We got a young brother that's going to be on the show this week, man. Name is Corbin. We call him Q, and he's going to be telling this story, man, about this clothing line that he started, man, and it's called Otis Gear. Only, listen to this, man, this young dude, it's called Otis Gear. Otis, O-T-I-S. Only the ill survive.
Come on now.
Only the ill survive. Oh, man. I'm like, man, getting hyped just thinking about it, man. Only the ill survive. That's his clothing line, Otis Gear. And he's going to be on this Sunday. Matter of fact, I need to call him and tell him, because make sure he don't miss his own show. But, we doing our thing over here, man. We serving our purpose, being on purpose. This is what God would have me to do with the time that he's given me. So that's what I do, man. I just go around, educate, motivate, elevate. This real estate thing is going bananas. I mean, I gotta tell you all about that, because that's part of our strategy from a wealth building standpoint, and from a legacy building standpoint, man. I mean, starting to pick up properties, starting to broker deals between real estate investors, people reaching out to me, man, I got 10 properties I need. The guy called me today, said, man, I got 14 houses I'm trying to sell. I'm like, whoa. It's like 14 hamburgers. It's like, oh man, I can't eat but 1 or 2 at a time, bro. But that's what happens, man, when you start playing with God, man. You start asking God for stuff, man. He said, man, it's right in the Bible. He said, I'll pour you out a blessing, man. You couldn't take all of it. So I'm thankful for that, and thankful for all of the opportunities that are coming, and just for living. Somebody asked me today how I'm doing, but I said, I'm just living, bro. I'm just living, man. A lot of people, they're not able to, you know what I'm saying? They're not able to just live. I mean, they grinding so hard, they're under so much stress, they're not able to laugh. That's why a lot of times on this show, when you see me laughing, the thing about laughter is therapeutic, because a lot of times people have so much stuff going on in their life, they can't even laugh. They don't have nothing to laugh. So they think they don't have nothing to laugh about, but you always got something to laugh about. You can laugh at yourself. I mean, sometimes you just have to laugh at yourself, man, so that way, you could break up that whole, monotony of being stressed out, not, having what you need, or so you think anyway. But I mean, he will give you provision for whatever you need, but you just have to. It all start right up here. It all start right up in that noggin, man. As they used to say when I was a little, that noggin. It all starts up in that noggin. So I'm thankful from that standpoint. Today, today's show was really, I want to talk about something that I think we really need to, I haven't been talking about in a while, but I think it's very timely because it's the beginning of the year. It's Black History Month. So, with Black History, I mean, it should be every month, but especially this month, man, we need to make sure that we tuning in to what's important. And one of the things that I was thinking about coming in, because a lot of times with these shows, I'm going to be honest, fully transparent. I ain't one of the lying type of guys. But a lot of times I just think about what's been in my, what's been in my spirit, what's been on my mind, what's been in my subconscious. And one of the things that, I've been thinking about lately, man, is just reserves. That was really the topic I want to talk about today, is just reserves. And I thought about, man, when I was a kid, people that know me, man, they know I've always had access to cars. I either owned the car or it was somebody's car, but I always was in a different type of car. Like I was just a car. I just loved cars. And I started driving at a very early age, like 12. I was 12 years old when I started driving. So, I just remember some cars, and even today, I remember some cars, man, you could drive that car and it'd get down to, it'd be on E. But I remember this one car I had, man, it was a raggedy car. I mean, this car, man, barely start, barely stay on the road. Barely, everything was barely with this car. Barely run, barely could crank it, barely made it to school and back. I mean, it was just a barely type of car, man. But one thing about this car, we got a call?
Unknown number. I don't know what it is.
Good evening. You on with Joaquin Thompson in the Daily Radio Show. What's your name and where you calling from? Could be a bill collector. Could be a bill collector. Unknown number. Hey, we answering the phone over here, man. We ain't tripping. But the thing about that is, but this one car, man, I had an Audi. Audi is real popular now.
Yeah.
But back in the 80s, man, I had a little light blue Audi. And that car taught me so much. It barely ran. It was just a barely, man, I'm telling you, man, this car, bruh, every time we got in this car, man, it was like, I don't know if we gonna make it back. Or when you better wear some good sneakers, because we might be walking. I don't know if we gonna get where we going, but I definitely don't know. I can't, it might not be a round trip, man. It might be a one-way ticket. But first car I had, man, with a battery in the back seat. I remember the first time I had to jump in. I had to jump the car, man. I'm looking all over for the battery. Could not find the battery until the next day. I pulled the seat out, and the battery was under the seat. And I was like, how much sense do that make? Why the battery under the back seat? Mm-hmm. But anyway, man, that car also had something that was different, which is it had a reserve. It was like a reserve tank. I don't know if it was a reserve tank or just the way that they designed, it went from full. In the European cars, people who have European cars, especially the older European cars, it just says 1, or they say 1/1, and then it goes to like half, and then it goes to 0, and then it was like a whole little space, that was shaded in, and it said reserve. It was a little R. That was like you would be on your reserve tank. So I don't know if they were just playing with your mind, thinking like, okay, it's really you that close to E, but I thought it was a reserve. I always called it a reserve tank, and I know Audi had that. The Jaguar had that type of car. But it's just a metaphor, man, for life. Because when you think about it, one of the things that I really want to stress this year is, creating that reserve tank. You know what I'm saying? Just creating a reserve, regardless of how much you have. Because many times people come to me and say, man, I would do it if I had it. But the thing that when I hear people say that, and I do financial coaching, so I coach people, and some of my clients, when I'm coaching them, they'll tell me that. They'll say, well, hey, if I had it, I would. And I was like, You have it, you just don't see it. And that's the beauty of working with a professional. You have it, you just don't feel like you have it. And I'm gonna give you a perfect example. So when I'm coaching people, they'll say, well, I say, look, number one thing is you pay yourself first. I would, but I don't have enough. I said, okay. The first thing I tell them is like most people, when they get their money, when they get their paycheck, like tomorrow's Friday, a lot of people don't get paid tomorrow. When they get their paycheck, the first thing they start rattling off is, you know, the electric, the water, the gas, the cable, the car note, auto insurance, you know, all these other bills, the student loan, the credit card. They start paying all this money out, and then when they finish paying the money out, it's nothing left. Then they say, okay, if I had something left, I would save it. But that's not how you do it. You do it in reverse. You're doing it backwards. They've taught us to do it backwards, and the reason they've taught us to do it backwards is because if you think about it from a business standpoint, if you have a car that you purchase from me, or if you have a credit card, what do you want? You want to be paid first. You don't want no excuses, right? Like, no, I want my money back, right? But when you think about it, if you do it the right way, even if you got $30, say if you a yard man and you just out blowing leaves and the client pays you $30, right? Before you do anything with that $30, what should you do? What should you do? The first thing you should do is take $3 out of that 30. Just $3, right? You take $3 out of that 30, put it into your account. That's before you do anything else. Before you buy gas for the weed eater, before you buy gas for the lawnmower, before you go to your next job, you take the $3 out, you put it into an account. That's for you. That's paying you. What'll happen over time, it's not about how little. And that's the other thing that I always try to teach my clients is, sometimes when I'm trying to get people to build up a reserve, they feel like it's only $3. Like the example I just gave you. It's only $3. But you're missing it. You're missing it. When you see the mighty oak, right? When you see the mighty oak tree with its big branches, all the leaves, all the limbs, it's just stretched all out. It might be one at your grandmama's house, right? It started with a little seed. It started with a little acorn. Little acorns like this. When you see all them little acorns on the ground, they don't look like that. You just crush them with your foot. You just stomp it over. But over time, you can't do nothing with that mighty oak. It ain't nothing you can do with an oak tree. Oak tree ain't pine. An oak tree is not a pine tree. So it's the same thing with your money. If you take $3, you take your little $3, you put it to the side. Next, go to the next house, you cut the yard. This time they give you $50. You take $5 out, you put it over there. You keep doing that over time. You just, day in and day out, that's what you're doing, right? Day in and day out. You know, you putting it, and you still paying your bills. Now what's left, you pay your bills. What's left, you pay your bills. Pay your bills, no doubt, pay your bills. Pay yourself. The way you should do it is this: pay yourself, pay God, right? Or really should be, some people say it should be God first. You ain't gonna get no argument out of me, right? Because I do it. Good times or bad, right? Payroll, payroll or non-payroll. When I get mine, that's the first thing come to my mind is I automatically calculate 10 out, not to the church. Not to the church. Because what did I say when I did the intro? I said, there's only one thing that we do on the daily bread, and that's God. We don't do religion. So I don't care who in the pulpit. It could be Deacon Jones. it could be Easy P. It could be Reverend Dr. Shaka Laka. I don't care who in the pulpit. I don't care. And that's a maturity level that you have to come to. It's like, I don't care. I don't care. I mean, I love my bishop. You know, shout out to Bishop Dale C. Bronner. You know, one of the famous Bronner brothers. I mean, he's one of the most prolific, he's one of the most prolific men in ministry, right? But even Dale Bronner, even my bishop, the leader of my church, I don't give the money to him. I ain't say here. this is for you. I'm saying, give it to God. And I don't care what he do with it. Once I release it into the atmosphere, I don't care. And these lessons that I'm giving y'all on the Daily Bread, man, if you think about it, I'm changing your mindset. Because even when you get to the point you say, well, man, yeah, okay, I can give this money away to the church. Not even giving it away to the church, I'm giving it back to God. Because the way your mind's supposed to work is whatever he gives you, be it payroll, be it small business, whatever he gives to you, whatever you create, or what you think you so-called created, from your craft and from your skill, whatever money comes to you, that came straight from God. Mm-hmm. That came straight from God. So the way I had to develop my mind, the work is like this. If God gives me $30, right? Now I'm blowing leaves. The client gives me $30. That's from God. If God gives me $30, is it not worth me giving him 10% back? I'm going to give him $3 on 30. I'm going to give him $3, $10 on 100, 100 on 1,000, 1,000 on 10,000, 100,000 on 1,000,000, 1,000,000 on 10 million, 10 million on 100 million, 100 million on 1 billion, 100 million on 1 billion. Now, if that ain't a good bet, I'll take that bet all day. If somebody tell me, you give me 100 million and I'll give you 1 billion, you would take that all day. So if a man would tell you that, God, really? So that's just a mindset. And again, this show is all about just building reserves. So you start putting away that money. You're putting away your money. Now, we said 10% is going to go to God. 10% is going to go to you. So what's left, right? We started off with $30. $3 went to God. $3 went to you. So now you got a net of what? $24. Now with them $24, boom, you do whatever you want to do. Pay your bills, right? Get things done. But I'm using small numbers so you can see when you start talking about you make $100,000 a year. You make $50,000 a year. Whatever you net, take 10% of that. So let's just say you make $50,000. I always like the $30,000 because that's my first job. I think I made 30, right? 1990, 94? 1994, had my first job. I was making $30,000. I thought I was balling. I ain't even gonna tell y'all all the bad.
Oh, Lord.
I'm not going to tell you all of the bad financial decisions I make, but let's just stay focused because this show's about reserves, right? So what happened was $30,000. And this is even true today, right? I know people that make 100. I know people make 200. I know people make 300. And I know people that make $30,000, right? And the person that make $30,000 has more reserves than anybody else. 100, 200, 300, 400. The person is making $30,000. Let me show you why. You make $30,000, you put away 10%. So I'm gonna just say that's your net. 30 is your net. So that way we won't get caught up in the taxes and all of that. That's another show. That's another conversation for another time. But let's just say you net 30, right? So you put your 10% away, you got $3,000. You gave 10% away, 10% went to God, right? So you got $3,000 in savings, right? You got that's all you saved $3,000 for the year. Now in 10 years, I'm teaching y'all, man, listen, man. Listen, man. It ain't nowhere else. Look, like my grandmother used to say, on God's green earth, can you get this? The way I give it to you, you can't get it nowhere else. Listen, $30,000 a year, and you put away 10%. That's $3,000, right? So in 10 years, right? You've been working for the company 10 years. I'm just talking about savings. I ain't talking about 401k, investing. I ain't talking about none of that. We're talking about reserves. In 10 years, you got how much? You have your whole salary. In 10 years, you have your whole salary saved. You have 1 year's of salary, your full salary saved in 10 years, right? But here's the thing that's even bigger than that. In order for you to get to the point where you could save $30,000, you first have to understand and develop the discipline to be able to save $10,000.
Come on.
Before you can save $10,000, before you can save $10,000, you have to develop the discipline and the mindset and the fortitude and the commitment to save $1,000. Mm-hmm. 1,000, right? So when you see and you hear about people saving money, and you say it's not a lot of money, it's the $30,000 person. Now this $30,000 person, he put away $3,000. 10 years, he got $30,000. Now I got another friend, he make $100,000, right? He makes $100,000, and in a year, he hasn't saved $1,000. Listen to what I'm saying to you now. I said he make $100,000, and in a year, 1 year, in 12 months, he hasn't saved $1,000. He hasn't saved $1,000. Why is that important? That's important because of this. In a year, you're going to have a problem. Most people, I'm going to just be honest with you, most people, when they have a problem, the problem is less than what? $1,000. Mm-hmm. It's a less than $1,000 problem, but we make it into more than $1,000 problem because we don't have no reserves. We have zero saved. So you come out the house, you get in the car, you start down the road, and then the car.
No, Lord.
No, shoot. Look, when that happens, when your car starts doing this, and you like, see, we talking about reserves. Most people, 99% of y'all, you're not thinking about the car. You know the first thing pop into your mind? Oh my goodness, I don't have no money for this. That's the first thing pop into your mind. You say, oh man, how much is this go? Oh man. You done ran everything through your head. Man, it's gonna be, I gotta take it to the mechanic, it's gonna be $1,000, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that. And in your mind, you already are saying, I don't have no money for this. I don't have no money for my car breaking down. Like, it could be your health. Do you realize how many people are walking around? Say, hey, bro, you need to go to the doctor. My shoulder been hurting like that, man. I ain't even lie. So I ain't gonna joke about people whipping around. But I'm a healthcare professional. So I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a lot of people that need to go to the doctor. But you know why they don't go? They are afraid of what the bill is gonna be after they go to the ER. Mm-hmm. They're afraid of the bill because they like, I don't have no money saved for this. They short of breath. Man, I done seen people with a goddamn thing growing off the side of their neck. I said, hey man, hey dog, you got
something going on there.
You got a little thing right there. You know, you trying to be cool. Hey bro, you got a little thing on your neck, and it could be this big. it could be like the little head. Like, hey bro, you got a little, you know, because you know how we do, man. We don't like to embarrass each other, so we say, hey man, you got a little something on your neck, bro, and it could be this big, like big as a grapefruit. And what we'll do, we say, oh yeah, I know, man, I'm about to go to the doctor soon, but we won't go. Why? Because we already in our mind, we already thinking, I don't have no money for that bill that they're gonna send me, so I'm gonna keep it pushing. I'm telling you about reserves. So the person that made $100,000 a year, they don't have $1,000 in savings, in reserves. So we talk about reserves and the importance of having a reserve. Like that Audi that I had, right? It had a reserve tank. So even when I was wilding out, even when I was like wasn't paying attention and ran the car all the way down to E, then after I ran it to E, it would go into my reserve tank. Because they'll say, this fool don't know what he driving all crazy. He don't know. But guess what? I had a reserve tank. So if you don't have any reserves, what do you do when your car, you start doing this, You take it to the shop and you don't have no reserves. What do? How you pay for it? I'm gonna show y'all. I'm putting y'all up on game. Every time you tune on to the Daily Bread, you're gonna get some game. This is guaranteed information. If you listen and do what I tell you to do, or even just take it to heart or listen, it would change everything. If you don't have reserves and your car breaks down and you end up at the shop, and the man at the shop say, oh, we found out what it was. We know exactly what it is. And you say, how much is it? It's going to be $900. Ooh. Not 900. Then you say, what is it, my transmission? What is it, my transmission? No. They say no, it ain't gonna be your transmission, but it's your alternator cooling unit, and your alternator cooling unit is gonna be $900. The part is $200, and it's $700 a labor. That's your $900. So if you don't have the money to pay for it, what do? Just ask yourself, what do you do? Like, how would you pay for it? Go into your wallet, or you dig down into your purse, and you say to yourself, like, oh, this ain't no big deal. I know how I'm gonna do this. Guess what you do? Bing! Trusty credit card. Pull out that credit card, boom! There you go. Boom, you back on the road, you driving smooth. Like, figure that out. Got my $900 on my credit card, but you don't have no reserves. So what does that mean? So I know some people out there say, oh, ain't nothing wrong with that. You just pay the whole balance off next month. Yeah, you would if you had some reserves. But when you don't have reserves, you're not paying the whole thing off next month, because guess what? You didn't have the original $900. So if you don't have the original $900, you definitely don't have the charge card $900, because your mind, the way your mind works is what? I got time. As long as I make the minimum payment, what? I'm paying on time. I'm good. But that $900 repair that went to $920, $930, $940, $950, $960. Because you ain't paid it, $970. You paying on it, $980, $990, $1,000, $1,010, $1,020, $1,030. Because you ain't paying attention to the interest. $1,050. So by the time you paid it off, say you did good. Say you paid it off, okay. But guess what? You done paid interest on the $900. You at $1,050, right? Meanwhile, but you make $100,000. You proud to tell people that. Oh man, yeah, I make 6 figures. Oh, okay, bro. You doing it, bro. You balling. I make mid. I done had people tell me, I mean deep. I'm deep into the 6 figures. I'm like, oh, that's what's up. But is your savings deep into the 6 figures? That's the question. So it don't faze me. I'll be like, oh, that's what's up, bro. That's what's up.
What you make is what you keep.
But when we go back to my friend that make $30,000 a year, and he has $3,000 in savings. He has a reserve tank of $3,000. Same thing happened to him. He get up, he get in his little pickup truck. You know he got a pickup truck. He don't have no luxury car. He got a pickup truck. He get in his pickup truck. Oh, he said, oh man, something must be wrong. Take it to the same mechanic. Mechanic say, hey, your air coolant alternator's gone out. It's gonna be $900. Guess what he say? Okay. They say, oh, you gonna put that on a card? He said, no. I'm gonna give you my debit card for my savings account, because I could just pay for that. I didn't have that money for that. It wasn't put aside for that, but it is put aside to keep me out of trouble, to keep money coming into me and not going out, to keep my mind at a different level, so when something just break or go awry, I don't freak out like, oh my gosh, it keeps me being able to go to the doctor, right? It keeps me being able to go to the mechanic. It keeps me in my mind, I'm like, I can handle this thing called life. I'm not stressed out, right? I'm not stressed out. I eat like a king and I sleep like a baby. I eat like a king and I sleep like a baby. That means I'm.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, man, I'm telling y'all a true story. Look, I came into the studio today, man. It's been storming in Atlanta. Shout out to my brother, man, Minister Neil. Minister Neil was doing his show right here in this chair, right before I came on. We got a couch in the studio, right? We got a couch in the studio. I said, man, I just want to sit down for a minute, man. Before I can say I want to sit down before I can get minute out, I was dreaming. I was dreaming. I was, running through some goddamn dandelions or something. I don't know. So them dudes was shaking me. Hey, man, hey, bro, hey. I was like, what? Bro, you snoring, man. We trying to do the show, man. We can hear you. I was like, oh, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I'm saying that to say, man, the moral of the story is this. Make sure that whatever you do, whatever monies that you have coming to you, that you create a reserve. Create a reserve. Especially if you're the go-to person in your family. Especially if you are the go-to person in your family. Because every family has a go-to person. And if you might be saying, oh, I don't know, I'm going to give you some signs if you're the go-to person. Okay? If something break down, and it's not yours, but it's in your family, I'm talking about something break down. The radiator, the furnace, the hospital bill, whatever it is. And somebody in your family is saying, hey, you know, the furnace broke down. They telling you about it. And it ain't yours. But they telling you because they know what? You going to extend, you going to help. You the go-to person. Okay? So if you the go-to person, create you a reserve. Create you a reserve. When I'm coaching, when I'm doing financial coaching with my clients, right? And this is something that it really throws them off, but I'm gonna tell you all the story too. This is a good skill to develop mindset, right? Because the first thing you have to do is create the mindset for it. So this is a good skill that I teach my clients. When they come to me, we talk about everything. We talk about the classics, credit, savings, debt elimination, budget. Then we talk about their goals and all this kind of stuff. So what I always tell it, and most times I kind of steer it towards the men, not to be, chauvinistic or anything like that. But this is just my belief. So I'm going to give you all the time. But I do the same thing with the young ladies that I mentor as well or do financial coaching. But I'm going to tell you all, I'm going to tell it to you from a perspective, not even a male or a female perspective. But I'm going to give you some color so that way you can understand what I'm saying. You out with a bunch of friends, right? Say it's like 5 or 6 of y'all, Your homeboy coming in town, you ain't seen him in a while, or your girlfriend in town, you ain't seen her in a while. Y'all, oh man, what's up? We need to go, man, let's go hit the such and such. Let's go to such and such. So y'all go to such and such restaurant, such and such eatery, all of y'all sitting there having a good time. Man, remember the time? Man, remember drinking drinks, having a cigar, just talking about life, having a good time, rah, 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 having a good time. Oh man, remember we was in the military? Remember that time? The ship, we having a good time, right? This happens all over the world. This same scenario happens all over the world. So let me tell you how it go down. So you having a good time? So invariably the waitress or the waiter's gonna come over and say what? They're going to come to somebody at the table, right? They don't go to each person. And this is something to think about too. Think about this. The waiter or the waitress, it's 5 or 6 of y'all, right? They always come up and because they don't know who is who, but they always come to one person, and in their mind, they've already decided this person is the leader of the group. Think about this now. These are facts, as the young people say. They'll come up to the table, y'all just laugh, having a good time. They'll say, excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Would it be, is this all gonna be on one check, or is this separate checks? What happens then? The room goes silent. Everything slows down. Everybody start looking around. It's kind of like Western at that point. You looking at me, I'm looking at you like, ooh. what should I say? Should I say single? Should I say separate? What are they gonna think? How should we play this? But it's a split second. It happens in seconds, but it seems like an old Western. It seems like it's happening in minutes. So everybody kind of like casing each other. Separate. It'll be separate check. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. All right, man. Tell me, man. But in everybody's mind, hey, man. Uh-oh, somebody calling in, bro. Hold on. Hey, man, y'all gonna have to call. Hey, bro. Producer had to go out to the. He had to go to the disposal. Y'all got to call back, but then them here, hey, man. That's how you have to call your producer. But let me keep with the story. And whoever called, man, just give us a call back. So what happens at that point? Hey, bro. Hard to find good help, man. But anyway, so at that point, you on with the Daily Bread Radio Show? What's your name and where you calling from?
Try it again. Try it now.
You on with the Daily Bread Radio Show?
Paid like such an amount per chat. Like,
What kind of call you got there?
Man, what is that? Anyway, so at that split second, you like, hey, man, what's going on?
Give your call.
You on with
random
the,
women from the internet that they know are getting paid.
man, what you on them chat lines?
That's your call.
Man, that's your computer, man. Don't be on no chat line on my goddamn show. Man, stay right there by the door, man. The phone been ringing. But anyway, back to the story. So now at that point, everybody's kind of like, everybody's not paying attention to the stories no more. Now everybody kind of checking everybody out. You know, like, oh, man, okay. It's separate. But this is what I teach my clients. I want to get you to the point where that same scenario happened. You having a good time. Remember that time? Remember when we were jumping off that? And the waiter or the waitress comes up, do the same thing. They looking around like, I wonder what. Okay, you. Excuse me, sir. Is this going to be? Is it all on one check, or is this going to be separate? And when you hear that, that's your cue, right? If you work with me and you my client, that's your cue. When you say, okay, because these your boys or these your girls, like, bro, what's a little bit of bread between? Right? That's the way we should be thinking. What's a little bit of bread between us? And you got reserves, right? So it's not, again, this is mindset. So it's not about you trying to play the role of, I'm big baller, I got my American Express, platinum juice, whatever you got, right? It ain't about that. It's about your mindset and where you to position yourself at. So you doing all that, they laughing, they come up, they say, hey, is this going to be all in one check? You say, hey, man, just bring me one check, right? And you keep talking, yeah, man, man, how the family, When you do that, now you done set yourself apart from everybody. Not that you're trying to set yourself apart from everybody, but you done said something without having to say it. You said, look, I can handle it. And it's worth it to me because of what you mean to me. Now, the other people at the table, depending on where they are in their mindset, some people are thinking like, dang, I should have gotten the lobster. That's the way I used to be. It happened to me a few times before I understood and I developed my mindset, a success mindset. I should be like, I should have got the ribeye with the shrimp and the lobster. I was like, oh, I missed out. Cool, but that's cool. Hey, that's my boy. Hey. He picked up the tab. That's what's up. But then as I started to develop it, and then some people sitting at the table, they wondering like, man, I wonder, man, Billy must be doing his thing now. I see you, Billy Perdue. It's like, man, Billy doing his thing. That's what's up, man. We high school together. But for you, right? Again, it's not about you trying to be big baller, but what it does is it gets you to a point where you say, hey, even in your family, right? The people that are most precious to you. Sometimes people in your family, we have these different celebrations. Somebody graduating, somebody getting married, but every time there's something like that happens, that don't mean everybody at the table are in position to be going out to dinner, man, or spend, you know what I'm saying? But they doing it out of, pressure to be a part of whatever it is, right? So sometimes it's good for you to be able to say, hey, man, I got it. So when you get to that point, it changes who you are. It changes your mindset. And then you don't have to do it every time. I ain't saying every time because I do it. I've done it. I will continue to do it at times. But sometimes, depending on the atmosphere, depending on how I'm feeling, depending on what I'm thinking, sometimes I'll be like separate. But then a lot of times I'll do this. I'll let you decide. So I sit back when that same thing happens, they come to the table. I get quiet. Because I'm saying to myself, like, I could do it either way. It don't matter to me. I could do it either way. I could do it either way. But that's just having peace. That's having financial peace, some reserves, right? And being able to do things. And being able to do other things. So just, you will be, and this is data driven. So what I try to do is when I'm coaching, I'm working on minds. I'm working on mindsets. I got clients, we working on them trying to pay their bills on time, right? And then I charge them a fee, and then they don't pay me, right? And I'll be like, oh, okay. I don't say nothing about it. I don't make a fuss. I don't give them a penalty. Some people are like, man, you should charge them a late fee. You should do this. I'm like, nah. It's a teachable moment. It's teachable. When you owe a person money, nobody don't have to say nothing to you. They don't have to say nothing. Nothing. I don't care what you forgot, one thing you never forget when people owe you money or when you owe somebody money. You don't forget. You don't forget. Especially if you're going to see them or come into contact with them. I don't care if it's $10, $20. Oh, man, let me get the $20. Man, I get it to you, but I don't make no big deal. And you like, oh, damn, all right, here, dog. And then the next time you see him, you saying to yourself like, dog, I know you ain't forget. I know you ain't forget. But anyway, what I do with my clients, I say, hey, look, you know what? I had a client who said, hey, man, I don't want to. I said, hey, don't worry about it. It's a teachable moment for you. So now you know what you need to do so that way you get in position, we get you to the point where you're doing everything in order and timely so you don't even have to think about that. That ain't on your radar. And now you at peace with whoever you come into contact with. Because even if I owe you, boom, if I do say I don't forget, but it slipped my mind, whatever you want to say. But when I see you, bro, here. If you remind me, hey man, bro, here. People respect that. Mm-hmm. That's called respect. That's where credit came from. So people talking about credit, I'm like, bro, I ain't worried about you. You wanted the service, I'm helping you with the service, and you don't pay. Bro, I ain't worried about that. I ain't even, and I'm sincere about it. Because my thing is, as long as that money is owed to me and it's out there, and I'm helping you, you're gonna remember that. I don't have to remind you. But I want you to work through that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you gotta have reserves. You have to have reserves. You don't have to start off with no large amount. Start off with $1. Start off with $1. If you save $1 every day for a year, you would have $365. Guess what? This is data. I'm telling you data now. Do you realize that data says there's over 35% of the people that are 65, listen to this number, 35% of the people 65 years or older, 35% of the people 65 years or older have zero savings. I said zero. I said Z with a row. I said zero. Some people used to say, when we was kids, we used to say zero. Zero, bruh. Can you imagine that? 65 and older, 35%. Do the math. It's 300 million people in the U.S. Do 35%. But that would be the wrong calculation because we said 65 and over, right? So say if it's 20 million people in the U.S. is 65 and over. And I said 35% of them, right? That's over 60 million people, right? Am I doing the math right? That's right, right? It's 70 million to be exact, right? Right? 70 million? Zero? So that means, okay, how many people got $100 or less? And how many people got 1,000? That's why when you hear people like Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, all the competition, first thing you need to do is save $1,000. Take baby steps. First thing you need to do is save $1,000. I agree. The reason that's the first step is this. Until you have that $1,000, you're going to be in a circle. You're going to be constantly paying, putting stuff on your card, trying to pay the card off. You can't get any traction, but you get $1,000 in your mind, and you can save it. You can sustain $1,000. Now you can save $2,000.
Yep.
$2,000. When you can save $2,000 without spending it, now you can save $3,000, and then it goes up from there. So don't think you're gonna be able to save $10,000, right? If you've never saved $1,000, because it's a mindset to be able to see $10,000 sitting over there in your account and you not eat it up. You not find something to buy, because most times tax season is coming up. We only got a few minutes left. Tax season is coming up. This is what I call financial Christmas. Financial Christmas is coming up, right? From January to April. We not missing it. We not filing late. You ain't got to worry about. The only people filing late is people who owe. The only people filing late is people who owe. Because everybody else, they've been waiting on this, right? But here's the thing. What you gonna do with that money? You getting $3,000 back this year. What you gonna do with it? Have you thought about it? Have you given any thought to it? When I get that $3,000 refund this year, have you given it any thought? Like, just, have you written it down? This year, when I get my $3,000, or this year when I get my tax return, I'm gonna save, buy me a house. I'm gonna buy me a car that won't be breaking down. It won't be a barely. So that way when it comes, you know what to do with it. Or are you gonna do like the majority of people? The mall, I don't care what city you in, you can't get in the mall. Everybody buying shoes, clothes, jewels, hats, scarves, just buying stuff. You don't even need no more of that, and you buying it because you got $1,500. You got a $1,500 check, and you treat it like it's a signing bonus. It's like, bro, put that $1,500 to work. That could be your reserve. That could be, you could say, man, I got $1,500. I'm putting it right over in this account. That's going to be my reserve. If you did that for 10 years and you ain't do nothing else, if you did that for 10 years and didn't do nothing else, now you got $15,000. Why is that important? Let me show you why it's important. Now you got $15,000 in an account. You go to the bank, you tell the bank, hey, you know that little commercial piece of land that's right down on Main Street and such street? Yeah, that one. How much is it? It's $300,000 for that. Okay. What kind of down payment do I need? We got a special program. You need $10,000 down. Oh, I got $15,000. Ooh, perfect. Okay. I want to buy that. I want to buy that. I want to buy that. That's what reserves do for you. When opportunities come to you that require money, I'm talking about, man, you hear some phenomenal, when you don't have your own reserves, you hear about phenomenal opportunities. Man, his mom passed away. They got the house. They don't want that house. Man, they said they'll take $10,000 for that house. I know that house worth at least $100,000. I'm talking about this happening every day in America. Every single day. Every day, all over the United States, especially in our neighborhoods. Man, such and such, how much they want? Man, I don't want but like $20,000 for the house. That house is worth $110,000 before you fix it up. I'm talking about with the old 1970s stuff still in it. You take all that stuff out that house and just paint it. That's all you got to do. Move all that shag carpet, put you some regular carpet down, and just paint it. You just made $100,000. But you will never get to that $100,000 if you don't have no reserves. When you're dealing with the bank just want to see it. Let me see how much money you got. Oh, you show them that account, say, hey, I got $15,000. I've been had it. You had it at least 3 months. I had it 3 years. They like, ooh, we want to do business with you. What you want? I want to buy that building down there. I want to buy that house. What you gonna do with it? Airbnb it? Oh, that's what, yeah, I like that. Because I know you're gonna be able to pay me back. And the other thing I like is you've shown me that you know how to manage money. And I like people that know how to manage money. So guess what? I'm gonna give you some money, some more money for you to manage. But if you sitting on zeros, you sitting on them double zeros, triple zeros, bro, that ain't where you want to be, man. So that's the Daily Bread for today. Hopefully y'all learned something about reserves and the power of reserves. Don't worry about giving that money to your bishop or whoever, what his name, Hezekiah, Rico, whatever, Deacon Jones, whoever. Give that money to God.
Theophis.
Yeah, Theotis. Don't worry about whoever it is. Give that money to God and release it. That's when you start to release money into the atmosphere. Like, I'm releasing this. Because when you release it, you believe in that you're going to get more. Like, you ain't going to miss that. But when you hold stuff so tight, you don't have a chance to open your hand. You can't get nothing in a closed fist.
That's right.
You holding them dollars so tight, you got their hands start bleeding. But if you just like, hey, bro, I'm free with it. Look, put something in there. Look at that.
Hey,
Just put something in there.
you get the book of the week.
Man, you see this book sitting up here, man? I've talked about this book about 3 times lately. But this today, when I was talking about reserves, I said, okay, I need to bring it back out. Because I don't think they heard me. So I'm going to leave y'all with this, man. I'm going to leave y'all with this. Go out. It's Black History Month. Go out and get this book, right? It's $16. You can hit your reserves, get you $16. It's cheaper than that, really, right now, because on Amazon it's probably like $10. This book is called The Banker's Code. This book is called The Banker's Code. What this book is about is this. This book will teach you how to think like a banker. This book will teach you to think the same way when you go down to Chase, Bank of America, and all them other banks, and you talking to them about loaning you some money or buying a car or whatever. This book teaches you how to think the way the bank thinks, from a risk perspective, from an investment perspective, and how to make money with other people's money. This is called the Banker's Code. Now, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. I know y'all. I don't want you to be upset when I tell you this story, but I'm gonna make it short. Get this book, and you'll learn what I'm talking about. And you got to read it probably about 3. You might have to read it more than that. I mean, because I had to read it. I probably read it 4 times myself, and I'm still like, what? Say it again. What? I had to draw pictures, but I started doing some of the things that it tells you to do and thinking the way that, like, I think like bankers think. So when people ask me about stuff, I'm like, ooh, yeah, 65%. That's about all I can do. 65% loan to value. That's all I can do, right? Because that's what the bank does. But on average, does anybody know on average how much banks make in interest every day? On average.
10 million.
I said percentages.
No percentage.
See, that's the thing. That's the way banks think. Banks don't think about how much. They think about percentages, right? Because if you're dealing with $1 trillion, like Bank of America, right? Bank of America, one of my partners told me Bank of America, he said Bank of America has 100 trillion
With a T.
with a T. I said, what? He said 100 trillion with a T, not a B. I said 100 trillion? The heck? What number is that? What number is that? But the reason they can do that is this. They work on percentages. Banks try to make 400 to 500% on everything that they do. That means if you give a bank $1, they try to, on minimum, at minimum, they trying to make $5 on $1. At minimum. A lot of times they making 1,000%. You give them $1, they making 10. You don't believe me? Here's a quick example. You open up a checking account, you put $50 in the checking account. The bank pays you how much in interest? 1%, right? I come into the bank right behind you. After you open up your account, you sat down there for 30 minutes. They gave you all that, asked you all them 1,000 questions. You put your $50 in their account. I come in right behind you. As soon as you leave, I come in and I tell the bank, hey, I want to get an auto loan. They say, oh, okay. Yeah, we got some money we can loan you, right? They take your $50 and they pool it with a whole bunch of other people that just open up bank accounts. They're going to give you 0.5%. They're going to give you 0.5% in a year. In a year, right? So do the math. Do the math. You put in $50, you left it in there. In a year, you're talking about $2.50. In a year, they're going to give you $2.50. But they're going to take all of these people money, right? Put it together. And then they're going to say, okay, you want to buy a car? Here. And I'll say, how much is my interest? It's 7%. And you say, oh, that ain't too bad. 7%. It ain't great, but I had some credit history. Oh, okay. I'll take it. 7%, right? 0.5% to 7%. 0.5% to 7% in 1 year. How much did the bank make on just that one deal? Going from 0.5%. Now, every time you go to 0.5%, keep in mind, if you go from 0.5% to a whole, that's 100%. That's 100%. Anytime your money doubles, that's 100%. Anytime the interest doubles, that's 100%. So from a half, this is what I'm saying to you. So what number is that? That's 1,400, right? Because you went from 0.5 to 1 to 1.5 to 2 to 2.5 to 3 to 3.5 to 4. You do that all the way up to 7. Each time you go 0.5%, that's 100% interest to the bank. Do the math, man. That's the daily bread. That's what we do over here. You can't get this. Nobody else ain't breaking it. Ain't nobody else giving it to you like this. Think about it like that. 0.5%. I just gave you, that's 1,400%. And do that every day, year in and year out, and see it. You ain't running out of no money. You ain't gonna run out. So you have to start thinking the same way. If I buy this at 0.5%, I'm gonna lend it to you. Just give me 2%. You just made 400%. Half to 1, 1.5 to 2, 2.5 to 3, 3.5 to 4. Trying to tell y'all, hey, stay tuned. Next week, we coming to you live from where? San Francisco. The Daily Bread's gonna be on the road and where? San Francisco. That's where we gonna be at next week. The Daily Bread coming to you live from where? San. Like throw some bass in my joint, man. Put some respect on my goddamn stuff, bro. Hey, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Hey, Dr. April, I appreciate you. Tell a friend. Oh, man, cut this off for a minute.
Because I'm here to
1 minute, man. Cut this off. Sunday night, 9:30. Sunday night, 9:30. AIB TV, Comcast Channel 295, AT&T U-verse Channel 6, and you can stream it live anywhere in the world. AIBTV.com/AIB everywhere. Sunday nights with yours truly on the Daily Bread TV show.